wacho ukae. This one I have to hear from the expert. I tell you, Peggy, we all need to hear this and hear it so well. And I'm honored this morning to invite to speak to us and to have this conversation with us, James Wanyugi. He is a financial advisor. He has been here before, and we had an incredible time with him on different conversations. And today we take on this one with him. Let him say hi to us. Good morning, James.
Good morning, Sharon.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good to have you back.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super grateful.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I have a question for you before we get deep into the conversation.
Yeah.
When you hear debt,
Yes.
What really comes into your mind? Do you think about it as stress or opportunity? As James.
For me, I see it as a stress, actually.
Okay.
Because I've been there. I'm not here like I'm all right, she has got it together. I've been there, but any moment debt is mentioned, either good or bad, there's that shiver. There's someone who says that panga inapita kwa tumbo.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Now that makes two of us. I think
sure.
Stress.
Yes.
But anyway, let's dive into the conversation. And it's interesting we're having this conversation when on the front page of the Standard newspaper today, let me just read it for you. This is how it read.
Yeah.
Shylock economy. Harsh economic times and bank credit denials have driven Kenyans into backstreet borrowing, fueling a Shylock economy that is pushing households to ruin. Victims of predatory lenders forfeit assets. They skip meals. They battle depression. In some cases, they take their own lives.
Yeah.
And this is not something that is happening too far from us.
Yeah.
It's things that are happening in our families. These are things that are happening to some of us who are even listening to us today.
Sure.
And so this is a very crucial conversation to have. And so maybe we can just begin off by trying to understand what exactly is a good debt and a bad debt. How do you differentiate the two?
Yeah, thank you, Sharon, for that question. And what you have just read, and this is my career, this is what I do from morning to evening, Monday to Monday, like talking about finances, savings, and debt. I can agree, it's a giant in our economy.
Yeah.
It's a big giant. And I've sat with people where you break down, because I begin by knowing where are you financially before we even start. And you see someone like writing debts, maybe a whole page. I remember one person told me, James, I don't know where to begin. And those Shylock loans where you realize maybe a 20% interest, and when you do the math, you realize by there is no way we will come out of this cycle if we don't like intentionally come from this. And a bad debt, that doesn't mean they are not good debts. And good debt, I usually say, is a debt that pays itself. This is a debt that brings in more cash flow. And when I say this, and I say this because if it's a business loan, the business has already picked, it's not a starter. And when I take this loan, I'm careful, I pray for wisdom. And I usually say, money is very spiritual. Do we pray for wisdom before we take a debt? Is it bringing in more money, or is it enslaving me? Because the Bible says that the borrower is a slave to the lender.
Yes.
And this is something that debt creates without both of you agreeing. You become a slave immediately. So it's just looking at, is the debt that I'm accruing, is it bringing in more money to me, or is it making me a slave? So once you identify that, by the way, this is what it is. It's either a good debt or a bad debt. Is it bringing in money?
Yeah.
Is it taking money from my pocket?
All right.
Yeah.
Great. And just to break it down to our context, for example, if I took an education loan, is that a good or a bad debt? Actually,
I consider education loan as a good debt.
Okay.
Because it may not be bringing in cash flow, but it's adding you value to actually maybe have a better job or be placed better in the marketplace out there. So education debt and business loans, and again, as I said, business loan and and education there differently. And that's when I'm teaching finances, I tell people, especially the young parents, do you know that child that is maybe not yet born, or that child who is 1 year or 2 years old, they will one day go to university. Have you started to save for them? Because that way you will avoid them the heartache of going for a loan for their education.
Right.
If maybe some of us are not there, no one planned for our education and all that, I consider education loan as a good debt from where I'm seated.
All right.
Yeah.
If I took a loan to buy a car,
Yes.
and I want to bring it as down as possible,
Yes.
is that a good debt or a bad debt?
First of all, I need to consider what value is the car bringing in to me.
Okay.
Am I buying a car because my neighbor bought a car? And am I buying a car that I can afford? Because I can say, by the way, how much is it cutting on my salary? I remember there is a conversation I've had. I think I had a series on Hope TV, and I think all these conversations are on YouTube out there. We talked about budgeting. If when you do the 50-30-20 rule, how far, if I am taking that car loan, how much dent will it put in my pocket? Can you now consider a used car versus a new car? It's all about, am I able to afford this car to sustain it from my income versus how much will it cost me in the long term? Because we usually say it looks so easy when you look at it from a perspective of like sitting down and looking at the cost and how much you will pay. But their costs are along the way, their maintenance costs, there are all these costs. So for me, I usually say a car, we usually say nowadays it's no longer a luxury, but actually if you're going to buy a car, how much is it going to cost you? How much is the maintenance cost? Because all this information is out there. You can be able to actually track and say, by the way, I can afford this, or I can hold this for a while. And when it's convenient, maybe we can say, can we now go for a second-hand car or a car that we can be able to afford?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What purpose is it serving? And then let's talk about credit cards.
Yeah.
Where do they fall?
Now, credit cards.
But for someone who doesn't know what a credit card is, maybe you could just explain.
A credit card is like a fuliza. And I'm careful to use that one because it's used by a brand. And a credit card, now this is where you buy something with money that you don't have.
So you spend first.
You spend
what you don't have.
What you don't have.
Okay.
Actually, in our economy, we are not big. When you go to the Western world, we can talk more of credit cards.
Yeah.
But in Kenya, that is where now you override or you overdraft, or you even download that mobile app that allows you to buy something that you don't have. But a credit card is a bad debt.
It's a bad debt.
In capital letters. Yes.
Why do you say so?
Because for me, mostly you will run that card, and there's someone who said when you use hard cash, the pain that you feel is the same pain that your body feels when you're pricked by something on your body. And so when you now come to run your card, you almost don't feel it. You don't see exactly. You just run it, you buy whatever you are buying. And for me, a credit card, mostly people use them to buy lifestyle goods. Let me say, maybe upgrade a phone, maybe an appliance or whatever it is. For me, a credit card, actually, it's the worst thing that you can have. And I like following a guy who is notorious in that. I think it's Dave Ramsey. And he tells people the next thing you should do is to actually take scissors and slash it immediately. It's so painful, but I say debt has been so aggressively advertised to us. We can't imagine a phone without a loan. We can't imagine a car without a loan. We can't imagine whatever it is.
Right.
You can't imagine buying anything without a loan, even when you can afford it. And these are myths that we need actually to burst eventually to realize, by the way, if I can't afford it, let me wait until I'm able to plan for it. Yes.
All right. Beautiful. Is it possible that a debt could start as a good debt and then turn into a bad debt?
Yes. I know, and I'm saying this because I sit with so many people during the day. There's someone who tells you, James, I picked this loan as a business loan. Along the way, I converted it to my personal gain or my personal use. Along the way, you realize, yes, I've funded the business, but I didn't use as much as I needed. Partly it helps you, but partly it becomes a burden because most people are not willing to actually say, by the way, I've achieved what I wanted. Now I want to go and actually put back in everything else apart from just what I need.
Yeah.
So there are people who take with good intention, even education
loans. Yeah.
You see, this is for education only. Along the way, you see an advert on a very latest phone, and you decide, no, I think it has been a while. I need to convert this into a personal item, and we end up maybe having an impulse buying. And for me, that is when now I come now to a place of, do we track our finances? Do we know the condition of our flock? Where is money coming in and where is it going? Once we are conscious with that, actually, the good debt will not eventually go to bad debt.
Yeah.
As long as, the way I defined, as long as it's bringing in more cash flow, or it's adding you value at the end of the day. Yes.
All right. So from everything you've said, would I be right to say that there is necessary debt? It's okay to have debts?
For me, that's a tough one because I usually say, whenever I have a conversation in organizations, churches, or wherever it is, the first thing I usually encourage guys, either you are in debt or not in debt, I encourage guys to set up an emergency fund. That way, because a day of adversity will come, a rainy day will come, and most likely it will come with a dent on your pocket. So I encourage people, set up an emergency fund. That way, instead of when a rainy day comes in and you go for a loan, that's why I don't think there is a necessary loan or debt, you will go to the emergency fund and sort out whatever it is. You will not have surprises because surprises will come. We can never avoid that. As long as we are human, surprises will come and emergencies will come. That way, you will realize actually you will be able to avoid more debt. And actually, even someone who is in debt, I usually encourage them, can you start to build an emergency fund? That way, you will have blocked more loans in future or more debt in future, and you will not have to say, this is necessary because this happened. Of course, there are places where you really feel you are really pressed, there is a sickness, it has gone beyond what you thought, or you lost a job. And I usually tell people, have an emergency fund of up to 6 months your salary, so that if you lose a job or you have a transition, you can be able to look for a job for those 3, 4, 5 months without going to debt. So without approving a necessary debt, for me actually is to have start curing, actually, because we all know, start to have a solution before you even have the problem. That way you will reach to a place and say, by the way, I feel free. I can lose a job today, spend 2, 3 months and still be okay not to take a debt. So there is no necessary debt, if you would ask me.
I hear you. So how does setting up an emergency fund look like? So to someone listening to us, it might sound like something very complex. What do you mean when you say set up an emergency fund?
For me, I usually say, if you are paid through a certain bank account, I usually advise people to set up an emergency fund out of the normal account that you run your card through. And if you are paid via M-Pesa, that now, because there are people who get there, so we want to be real, this is what is happening in our market, just pay whatever you are paying through your M-Pesa, but have your emergency fund in a separate account. For me, I remember there is a conversation we had on the TV side, and I was telling people, if you can have your bank account as the account that you are paid through, and then have a money market fund as your emergency fund, it's accessible, but it delays your gratification. If maybe most of them are like, you can only access 10K today, more than that you can only access tomorrow, or if you want to withdraw more than that, you can access through your bank within the next 48 hours. That way you can, of course, access your money, but it's not readily available. Now, your normal account, that's when now you do your 50-30-20 rule. 50% are my normal expenses. 30% are things that can happen or not happen. 20% send 10% to your future. 10% put it as an emergency fund. That way, it's like a shock absorber.
What do you mean to your future? 10% to your future? What does
Money
that
you
mean?
cannot withdraw hata ukichunwa. You see?
So lock it up somewhere.
Lock it up somewhere and up to a certain period. Because again, the scripture says that the ants, they don't have a master, yet they even stop for winter. But unfortunately, us as individuals, we don't want to put something into our future, but future is unfolding every day. So this emergency fund, I usually advise guys to put it in a money market fund, not into your, so that an emergency is an emergency. It's not an upgrade. That's the account you go for only on emergencies, and it will sort out not to go into debts.
When things that you say that is what, 10%?
10% to your future, and 10% and as an emergency fund, you can access it. It's making you a good percentage of income, like in interest, and that's why I'm going for a money market, because it's making you, it's above inflation. It's most of them are above 9% per annum. It's staying there, but it's making something. But again, it's avoiding you to run into debt. And when I say that, when I sit with people, I tell them, can we define what an emergency is, so that you don't say, by the way, my phone, there's an iPhone 17. I think my daughter even knew where we are. The latest gadgets. There is one that has come up. You walk into a shop, you upgrade a working phone with a working phone. No, that's not an emergency. You upgrade a working car with a working car. No, an emergency is something that you really feel, by the way, this has come in a time that I didn't expect. Sometimes I usually say even a battery for your car, instead of calling your neighbor to jumpstart you every morning, you get late. That's an emergency. A sickness, maybe your parent have fallen sick, or maybe whatever it is that we call an emergency. That's the only place we run. That way we will avoid this bad good debt conversation. Yes.
All right, fantastic. When we talk about debt, sometimes it can occur that you pick a small loan, but then you end up having it as a long-term burden. How can we avoid this?
For me, it's how to avoid this. I said it's good. We know the condition of our flock. How much do I have as an income? And this even goes to business people, where I was giving an example of my mother who used to own a kibanda. Many years ago, she went to be with the Lord. And later, I saw her with a 32 pages exercise book, tracking every shilling she makes. So within a year, you can tell on a good month, on a bad month, you can have an average. This is how much I earn, even if I'm in business. That way, you will know if I'm taking a loan of 20K, according to how much I've been earning from business, if I add this, it will not be a burden for me. It will not go beyond what I've anticipated. That way, you will know I can continue saving even when I have a debt, because I've projected how much is coming in versus how much is going out versus how much will it reduce on my expenses.
All right.
You see, that way you will, and this is a very hard conversation, because as an individual, I encourage guys to start budgeting. Do you know where your money goes for the past? Okay, budgeting helps you to budget, to give your money a name before you get it.
Okay.
And money you have not given a name, it will give itself a name. And most likely, you will say, by the way, and when you hear yourself saying, if I ask you a question, even right now, if you are listening, how much money do you have in your account? If you say, by the way, I guess, money doesn't have a guess. I'm not sure. We don't have those conversations when on matters finances. Be sure, when I get this month's salary, this is where it's going. It's called zero-based budget. Give every shilling a name to the last. The 30% you can, someone going for a ratio, whatever it is, maybe you're supporting someone who is bereaved and all that, you have an allowance to play with. And some of that, if it remains, we now supplement the emergency fund. But my bottom line is, track your, I call it spy on your finances. Spy where every shilling is going. That way, you will know, by the way, if I take a loan of 500,000 or $1 million for a car, I can comfortably be able to pay this for the next 2-3 years without having the strain. Yes.
All right, great. Is there something like Too small money to save, too small money to have a fund, too small
Great.
money.
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, in my work, and I want to commend our teachers. And I usually say they may not be earning so much, but when it comes to discipline and consistency, they are the best people with side hustles out there and pesa shops in our whatever matatus or and now these are research that we have done.
Yeah.
These guys they don't earn so much, but they save a lot. I remember a video I was playing when I was doing a training in an organization recently. It was a very sad story of a former, I think, deputy governor who is selling firewood somewhere. And I was like, how much could he have been
I
paid?
saw that story.
You see,
I
and
did.
for me, saving is not about how much you get. It's about the discipline and consistency. And I usually say money is it's very elusive sometimes. If you put it in a place where you can access it, and I know people who are very disciplined, they tell you, James, I have a money market, or even two. I call this name, I call this other name. This is the goal for this is the goal for this, and they keep it. But it's so accessible. And I tell them, can you check it off? Even from your salary, learn to live without it. Even if you earn 30K, break it down to a budget role and then say, can I send this to my future? At a certain point, I will go and get it and do whatever I want to do. And out of that, I've realized it's not about the amount. I have clients who are paid like 20K and you wonder, this person can afford to save 2K for the next long period. And to be sure enough, the moment they start, over time they tell you. Recently I saw a guy chat me on my inbox and he told me, James, we have killed one year, whatever that meant, the killing and all that. And I was like, thank God. I think like he feels he has taken charge, and it becomes very hard initially. It's like having a square wheel. Over time, the edges keep crashing. Over time, it becomes like a wheel that is moving. And then all of a sudden, you realize, by the way, I'm very intentional. I've done classes in places and I see people coming back and tell me, James, when I enter in a supermarket now, every shilling makes sense. I want to do the offer, like I'm very sensitive on what I buy. And basically finance is the way I'm saying it's discipline and consistency, doing that every other time.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. In a short while, we'll be taking your questions. I encourage you to share them with me on the number 209330717 that's the WhatsApp number, and across our social media platforms at Hope FM Live. In a short while, we also go to the business. But before we do so, James, how can I tell that I'm slipping into bad debt?
Great. For me, the way I say it, even if it's that 5,000 shillings we take for a loan in whichever reason, it's to ask myself, is it bringing in any cash to my pocket, or is it coming to bury me? Like the moment I take it, I need to start now thinking, how will I pay this money that I've taken? That way, and I usually say, your heart doesn't lie. You know, sometimes we take clothes and we are sure this one,
I don't know how I'll pay
it
this
will
one.
be so easy to get,
But
I don't know how I'll pay it. And also considering how much pressure will it put in my heart? Because the biggest, and this one I'm talking with a lot of caution, because I've met people with maybe even medical conditions, and you listen to their financial journey, you realize the burden they have. I met someone who was getting into hundreds of thousands in a month, but getting 4,000 shillings as cash at hand. And I was like, wait a minute, how do you feel as a person? Because we may look at different areas from different sides. And I was like, do your people know, yes, you have a very good job, but actually what you take home is almost nothing. You need to be real. You need to actually tell them, do we need to adjust few things here and there? We can no longer afford this and that. Because most of us are in denial. We took a bad debt, and then out of that we took another bad debt, we took another bad debt to cover up. And I've even seen someone who have lost a job, but they want to show the family they rauka to a job. They come to Nairobi, pick a set somewhere, in the evening go back, they keep borrowing to maintain the family lifestyle. The kids were used to this school, they were used to this lifestyle. And I think the first answer was like, can you sit with everyone this evening or the next few days? Tell them what it is. We are in a hall, and the next thing to how to come out of the hall, we may change schools, we may change where we live, we may change all this kind of stuff.
Just hold it right there. Sorry to cut you short.
Sure.
You'll tell us how to get out of that hole in a few moments.
Sure.
Let's go to the business.
Hope FM, another quality service from Christ, is the answer ministry.
Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond what angaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful. Ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
A black book and record every debt.
Yes.
I encourage from the slowest, and I will explain that, to the biggest debt, every debt with its interest rate, and also the timeline of how long should I pay for the debt. Have all these debts in that black book, open one, and also from the smallest debt to the biggest, we call it the debt snowball.
Sorry, it's
Yeah.
interesting that you mentioned the interest rate.
Yes.
Because sometimes I think we borrow without
Yes.
even knowing
How
how
much?
much we will pay back.
Yes.
Yeah.
As long as I will get that loan, that
Yeah.
money, we usually focus at how much we are getting.
Exactly.
We don't look at what is the interest rate of the debt.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, and I think the standard newspaper you have just read, the Shylock economy is that where they don't tell you the interest rate.
Yeah.
Like this one girl we had sat with, she had a loan with 20%
Oh my goodness.
interest rate.
That's a lot, right?
It's a lot. And she had paid for like, she was remaining 20,000 shillings at that time on that one specific. She had so many. And that 20K, she was paying that month 27,000 on interest for 20,000. And I told her, do you know the interest rate is 7K right now? And she was like, wait a minute, James. And we did the math.
Yeah.
And she was like, no way.
Yeah.
And I told her, now, how much have you paid? And we realized 70K. No, she had borrowed 70K. She had paid around 140K, but she had 20K with 7K interest ahead of her. So once we know how much the loan is,
Yeah.
what is the interest rate and what are the deadline and the defaulting, what happens when you default, what are the
Right.
penalties?
Yeah.
Because some of these loans, they are designed to never end. And unfortunately, the more you repay, I remember I had done a loan one day of 1.25 million. And I think by the time I realized how much the interest was, I said, no, God help me, because now it's like I will never finish this loan. The period was already done, but the loan was still, I was paying the same amount that we agreed, but it wasn't adding. And I thank God I got a friend, and I think we will come to that later, who told me, I told them, by the way, I have this balance. Can you give me this money? And then allow me to have an agreement on how to repay. Thank God he had the balance. And the moment I got the money, I went to the bank and told them, let me clear to the last shilling. And then we will talk later. And maybe on the ways how to come out of debt, to look at the interest rates, consider all these debts. Start with give priority to the smallest debt. Once you get out of that debt, put a very big red, red mark. You remember when we were in high school, how a teacher would come and cancel everything in red? Cancel it. And we like being celebrated.
Yes.
And when you knock down that small loan, you now give effort to the next smallest loan.
That's true.
Bit by bit, you keep on giving attention to the next one and the next one and the next one. That way you realize actually it's better. It's called debt snowball versus the debt avalanche, where you start with the biggest, knock it off, which is mostly because you're in debt, because you have financial stress and all that. Even if it's a 5K, just go, when you're done with it, put a big red line, say now I'm going to the next, towards the journey of being debt free. And one thing I've realized, the moment I see people go through this journey, I think God honors our faith. You see someone over time telling you, James, I think I'm remaining with 2 or with 1. I'm now good to go now, full blast. And then I again, the way I see it, also have a small something coming up as an emergency fund. I usually also give a solution of a debt consolidation, where you have all these debts, have them on in front of you in a book or wherever you want to record it. And then if it's a circle or wherever it is, get a loan with a lower interest rate. Clear all these loans with one loan and remain with the one loan that has a lower interest rate, but you have already projected how long you can repay that loan. That way, you will be knowing this is my giant, I'm facing it with all my effort. Any side hustle you want to do, whatever effort it takes, attack that loan. I usually call it a gazelle intensity. Someone said that when you see a cheetah and a gazelle running against each other, actually 90% of the hunts, the gazelle wins. But it's so intense. I love those documentaries because that is the same intensity we should run against getting out of these bad debts. And if you're in a good debt, keep on reviewing. If you can be able to negotiate with the bank to make it comfortable, the cash flow is coming in, don't take another loan on top another one if you have not done all the math. Track every expense, know how much it's costing, and then moving forward. Because loans are, especially for business, they are good, but if it's an asset or it's bringing in cash flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Let's quickly answer a few questions with a few remaining minutes.
Sure.
This one says, I have a question on bad debt and good debt. I would like to know, when you are in business, how do you go about the profit? Do you separate it and use the rest of the amount to restock? This is Veronica.
Yeah. And this is a place where you understand your business. There are products that if I scale stock to a certain level, most likely I will be able to scale higher on profits, because that way you will have tracked and said, by the way, my business has made this the way I said earlier. This is how much I've made for this month, the next month, the other month, and all that. There are businesses where if you stock more, clients are more likely to come to your shop, or you are even more able to give a discount to attract more clients. It's looking at what are the advantages of taking a loan to restock, to have more stock. There are people who take a loan maybe to upgrade how the shop looks like. What do you think is the value for that loan? Identify the value for the loan before you take it. And that way, if it's a restocking, is it going to give me more clients? Am I the restocking? Will I be able to give clients buy one, get one? Or maybe if the neighbor is selling maybe a 200, I can give a 189. sell more and with economies of scale versus selling the same price and hoping whoever walks in my shop will buy. So what is the reason for restocking? Is it for you to sell more? Is it just for people to see you have more products? Because if it doesn't make sense on the profit, then it's you would rather like lay back and then maybe get some few sources of. And I want to say loans is not a matter that is from an institution, even from friends. I usually say debt is the only thing that it creates a slave master relationship. The moment I ask you, Sharon, for a 2K, even if nimekwambia nitakulipa end of this year, if we meet tomorrow without us agreeing, it creates a tension.
Definitely.
Yes, and that is, and the scriptures are very clear about that. Right. What is it? What is the reason for taking that loan as a business loan? If it's not making sense in the book, then wait for it and trust God for wisdom on how to tackle that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like the conversation. How would you advise on daily income, let's say business, in terms of budgeting the income and creating stability in finances? I'm not sure if I get your question.
Yeah.
How would you advise on daily income, let's say business? Maybe she's asking how much does she save? How does she save from the business? You have what you have sold for the day.
Yeah.
So do you wait for the stock to get done with, or do you save monthly? How do you go about it?
Yeah. So for me, especially for business and for accountability purposes, I encourage people to have a separate account for their business.
Okay.
That way, you will be able to track the expenses, the way money is coming and going out.
Yeah.
If it's restocking, and I love the economy in Kirinyaga Road, you ask someone for something, they tell you, give me 1 minute, it's in the store. And they know it's not in the store. They are picking from the wholesaler. So what is a strategy for your business? If you feel now restocking 2-3 times in a month would make sense, you can actually be able to say, I can take stock less of this, especially if it's a diversified kind of a shop or business. You can be able actually to track, this has been going more, I can restock this more and do less of this. But having a separate account, even for the future of records, and we are in times where taxations and everything is taking place, you will be able actually to know, if someone asks me for the 6 months record for my business, can I give comfortably? And if I have a consultant or an advisor, can they advise me with the data that I have? So for me, the beginning of any business, have track records, know how do I have ways, even if I take a debt, how do I take advantage of taxation? Because any moment you have a business debt, it also comes with an advantage of taxation, because it's in the allowable expenses. You take an expense to actually boost your business. That way you will be able to track every move, every stock, there are no surprises actually. Every moment is calculated. I come to you and you tell me, you can talk a whole hour on data and moves and what is moving, what is not moving. So for me, I think at the end of the day is to have records together in any business, and before even upscaling or downscaling, there are products actually you phase out along the way, because you realize this is a liability. This has been here in the shelf for the last 1 month, 2 months. Now I can be able to phase out pole as I increase the other side. Yes.
Maybe we should have a whole conversation on how to run businesses, finances and businesses.
Yeah.
Because our time is pretty much well spent. I doubt we have even exhausted the conversation on debt. We will talk about this another time.
Sure.
What are your final remarks, James?
Yeah, and that's a good one. And for me, it's just to tell guys that good debt, they can become your master. They can make you soar on high, like on wings, and take off. And bad debts, they become your slave every moment. The moment you become
their slave.
Yes, you become their slave. And every moment you have, before taking any debt, I wish we can run this statement in our mind. Is it bringing in, or is it making me a slave? Once you do that, you will be like, no, I can't wait for this. And this can wait, or this can go ahead.
All right.
Yeah, but this conversation, maybe we can have it again and again.
We should continue.
Yes.
All right. Well, we will agree on when you can come next.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time.
Karibu.
James Wanyugi is a financial advisor helping us with good debt and bad debt. What would you want him to talk about, by the way? Do you feel like your questions are answered well? Do we need more time? Please let me know. There's actually a few questions that we didn't answer, but in the interest of time, allow us to leave it there. If God allows, we can have this conversation next week again. God bless you so much for your time. I'll see you tomorrow, same time and same place. My name is Sharon Naitore Wangenye. Bye-bye.
Hope FM.
It's now 9 a.m.
Listen and live.